Starting off with Paintballer, he goes into D tier, arguably F. He has decent early defense and easy in Molten, but outside of that his life is meaningless. Sniper also goes in D tier. He is a decent starter tower, but gets outshined way too easily. Believe it or not, but Demoman also goes in D tier due to pretty much same reasons as Sniper. Hunter goes in C tier. He is basically a better sniper, but this is not a very high bar. Actually, nah, D as well. Soldier also goes in D tier. His stats are just way too underwhelming. On the other hand, Golden Soldier goes into a tier. He is great early to mid defense while having a DPS of minigunner at max level. Normal Crook Boss goes in B tier. He is just plain average and gets overwhelmed easily in harder game modes. Golden 1 goes in a tier. Great early to mid and stacked up crooks can deal accelerator level DPS. Actually Normal 1 deserves C. Militant goes in C tier, pretty decent tower for beginners but gets outclassed and forgotten quite easily. Medic goes in B tier, before level 5 she is trash, but her ability comes really handy sometimes, especially when boss stun abuses. Freezer is going in C. He isn't an absolute shit like he used to be, but he is still pretty mediocre as support. Farm is the first S tier of the video, gains insane advantage through eco, incredibly versatile outside events, and nearly irreplicable outside of another tower. But even then Farm is still the best for eco. Shotgunner goes in low tier. Amazing early defense for beginners while still packing a punch later in the game with infinite pierce. Rocketeer goes in C tier. Okay splash damager, but gets outclassed by other tower. Trapper is C. Good in some niche strategies, but overall pretty mid. Ace Pilot goes in low A. Great early to late game, stun immune and also amazing for hardcore. Pyro goes in B. Solid early to mid game and defense melter. Golden 1 goes in A. Normal Pyro, but better in every way, and can deal some serious DPS late game. Military Base goes into high B. Great for fallen mode and airstrike ability is amazing. I'm putting Mortar in B. Basically a better Rocketeer that is stun immune and targets air. Turret goes in A. Amazing DPS tower for beginners, and even arguably better than Accelerator. Pursuit also goes in A. Pretty underrated DPS tower that also has that crowd control with its missile spam, and it's also stun immune. Mercenary Base goes in A, really good spawner tower. Unfortunately, they now can die from heart attack, which was probably made to avoid stacking. Electroshocker goes in low B, solid all-around crowd control. Commander goes in S. His range is not as great anymore, but the buff he gives is just not replicable. Warden goes in a tier. Great melee tower with crowd control though he faces competition from other melee tower. Cowboy goes in B. Decent combination of eco and DPS. DJ goes in S. He is just too good. And if you think he is not, please quit TDS immediately. Minigunner goes in B. Really solid DPS tower and possibly the first DPS tower new players would get. Golden Minigunner goes in A below other Goldens. Great DPS for late game, but he has a lot of competition. Ranger goes in A. Great damage with a massive range. Stun immune, included in a lot of strats. And he is overall based. Gatling Gun goes in S. Despite the cost and one placement limit, its DPS is just absurd. Brawler goes in A. Easily the best melee tower at the moment with huge DPS, crowd control, and reposition. Accelerator goes in A. He definitely fell off a bit, but he is still good DPS option for most cases. Engineer obviously goes into S. Great DPS, incredibly versatile, works from early to late game and has all detections in the game. She is also not very hurt by stuns due to Sentry Shield. Cryo goes in B. Above average crowd controller, does its job done really well. Gladiator goes in low A. He fell off hard. He used to be the king of speedruns, but after many years, he just got power creep not only by some towers, but by enemies as well. He needs a rework at this point, but he is still amazing for Molten and Pizza Party speedruns. Elf Camp goes in B. Very fun tower to play with and overall pretty good. Sledger goes in C. He is just a really weird and overpriced tower even if he deals a lot of damage. Hello Punk is one of the newest towers and it goes in C. It is just a mediocre and 3 upgrades only certainly doesn't help. Jester goes in A. Amazing crowd control even if he doesn't affect bosses anymore. Harvester goes in A. Its true potential is still unknown, but it seems like a great crowd controller. and it also makes farms even more useful. Necromancer goes in B, pretty underrated, but there are better options as DPS. Golden Cowboy goes in A, very good combination of eco and good damage, especially shines in solo. Slasher goes in B, he has potential but he is way too expensive and his role is already taken by Warden and Brawler. Commando goes in low C, he is like really bad DPS tower, the worst actually, really needs a rework. Frost Blaster goes in B, respectable crowd controller. Archer goes in low B, arguably C. He is really average but piercing arrows can deal good DPS sometimes. Swarmer goes into F, fraud. Toxic Gunner goes in C. The slow effect it gives is not very noticeable, but he has some DPS at least. Executioner goes in B, good crowd control, especially in events. Scout goes in D, okay as a starting tower but gets outclassed by literally everything except Swarmer. And finally, Golden Scout goes in low A, great early to mid game but has a lot of competition and is arguably outclassed by them.